Hi, this is Mark Wiltshire. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Explore Finland radio show. This week is a subject that's quite close to my heart. It's beer. And it's not that recording the Explore Finland podcast has driven me to drink, but it is, I like it. I like a beer. I like proper beer. And that's something that we talk about this week. I sat down and spoke to Jyri Ojaluoma, who is the brewmaster at the Mallskoski Brewery here in Seinäjoki. He talked to me a little bit about the history of Mallskoski Brewery. We also talked about the process of brewing beer. And as I say, someone who likes beer, who's been drinking beer for at least half of my life, it was interesting to actually learn a little bit about the process of the of creating this drink. And also we had a little beer tasting. We had a couple of different beers, and Jyri was able to then sort of help me to understand some of the things that he'd been talking about when we sat down and spoke. We also then talked about the recent beer festival here in Seinäjoki, and he gave us a few stories from there, and it was a big success, which was good to hear. So let's head over now to my conversation with Jyri. We recorded it in a bar in Seinäjoki that's connected to Mallaskoski Brewery, so you can hear a little bit of background noise, but actually what you can really hear in the background is some pretty good music. So while you're listening to me talking with Jyri, maybe you want to take a note of some of the tracks that you hear, and drop me a line on Twitter and let me know which was your favourite, or if you managed to list all of them, that would be an achievement. I didn't do that while I was editing the show. So you'll find me on Twitter at Explore Finland. So if you want to drop me a line, or if you want to drop me a line anytime, then by all means that's where you'll find me. So now let's head over to my conversation with Jyri, which was recorded towards the end of January 2016. So I'm here today in the Mallaskoski bar. It's a small, relaxed bar that my friend Colin described as quite hipster. I hope you're listening, Colin. I'm joined today by Jyri Ojaluoma, who's the brewmaster at Mallaskoski Brewery.
Yeah.
Jyri, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
So, what does the brewmaster do, first of all?
Well, it differs from day to day. It's sometimes I'm changing parts to the car of the brewery, and sometimes I'm wearing my suit and shaking hands. But mainly, I run the brewery. I do recipes and I do the beer and everything between the earth and the sky. So
yeah, okay. Well, we'll come on to some of those things. Already you've said a few things that I'd like to ask you a bit more about. But first of all, Mallaskoski. It means malt rapids.
Yeah.
Right. And this is a brewery situated here in Seinäjoki. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the history of Mallaskoski.
Well, there has been Mallskoski before, from year 1921 to 1965, when it was closed. And we started talking with a few of my friends in 96 about... at that time, there was coming some microbreweries to Finland after a while, after 20, 30 years. And then we were started talking about why there's no brewery in Seinäjoki anymore. And we remembered Mallaskoski. We of course haven't been there when it was operational, but we remembered the buildings that were there when we were little. And so we started to dig into it, and we noticed that Mallaskoski name was free to use, and their brand names, Kuohu, was free to use. So
you brought it back to life.
Yeah. Well, so on Christmas, a few days after Christmas on 98, we started to make our first brew, and
because looking at the place where it is now, it looks like the original place. I assumed it was much older than that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You took over the existing
No. It was we asked Seinäjoki city to join us, and they built us the brewery, and we are still there.
Because there's the tower.
The old tower is the old water tower.
For the original place. Okay.
Or mainly to the whole Seinäjoki.
Okay.
But, so yeah, we started then, and it's been a roller coaster ride to this day now 17 years.
And did you, before you started it, was brewing beer, was that your business, or was it something you thought,
no,
I like the idea, I'm going to learn this?
Yeah. It was something that I learned from scratch.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, okay.
I started to dig something up, books, and then there was this course on Mustiala, which I went to, and then but you have to learn the trade by doing it. So I did some beer by my own, and then of course when we started, you had to do beer all the time.
Sure. You said right at the beginning that did you say you blend your own, or you make your own recipes?
Yeah.
How many different beers does Mallskoski make?
Well, it differs from we have seasonals and one-offs and collaborations, and we have now in cans 4 beers, in bottles now 3. There's coming 2 more to bottles, and then on kegs we have like 3 or 4. That's always there, and then seasonal things from 5 to 7 a year. So.
Okay, I've got a lot to learn, because obviously I've been to Mallaskoski. I've been to some kind of work events there, and private parties, and sitting outside in the summer.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of the beers that you've got in the supermarkets as well.
Yeah.
I've had some of those, but I've got so much.
Yeah.
To learn. I can see that now. So maybe just explain to people. We've said that there's this building on the side of the Seinäjoki River that runs through the town of Seinäjoki. Maybe just describe to people a little bit what's there at the site.
Well, at the site we have a 2,000 liter batch size. We have 9 fermenters, and we do about 350 to 450,000 liters per year.
That's not bad for a microbrewery. That's quite a good output across all those different types of beer. And it's a red brick building which is open as a bar. Is it open all year round, or just at the weekends?
At summertime it's open every day, but on winter times, the cooler times, it's only open for if you want to organize some pikkujoulu or something like that.
Yeah, some kind of a private party or function.
Private parties and that kind of things.
And that's, I guess, why recently you've opened this Mallskoski bar. This is right in the middle of Seinäjoki.
Well, actually, it's Sanna Harju who is running these both. So.
Right. Okay. Okay. No, for sure. But I mean, it's connected to Mallaskoski anyway. And there's a question. There's a brewery here in Seinäjoki.
Yeah.
And you can find the beer in some of the supermarkets. Yeah. But not so much in some of the local bars. And maybe it's a good. I mean, obviously you've got them all here, and that's great. When I came here with my friend, there was too much choice. We could have been here all night, and if we had been, we wouldn't have got home. But how are the licensing laws from the point of view of the brewmaster of a brewery? Finland has quite strict licensing laws. Is that why your beers are not so widely available in certain bars here?
No, I think nowadays the Seinäjoki it's more opening. Our beers are getting to more of the places, but there are there are certain reasons We have made for a long time. We made lagers which are under the 4.7 alcohol, because you can only sell them in these markets. But now we have
in the supermarkets. Of course. Anything stronger must be in the alcohol shops. Yeah.
And then there's the restaurants usually don't like cans, so we have had cans.
Yes.
Now that we have bottles and stronger stuff like our black IPA or black pills, you can get them around.
Okay. So you have a more flexible range, so maybe more opportunities.
Yeah, sometimes you think that why is it that most of our beer is sold in Helsinki?
Well, there's a 20% of the population there anyway, so you can get it in front of more people, I guess.
Well, we have like tap places in Seinäjoki. Beside these our own places, we have one or two.
Yes.
In Helsinki, we'll have almost 30 places.
Of course.
Because,
and what about export? If people are looking to get hold of your product, try it, and they're not in Finland, can they find it anywhere?
Well, nowadays you can have from Estonia.
Okay. All right.
But not as such. We are trying Sweden and all the closest.
Yeah.
Actually, our one of our sales managers is going to festival to Tokyo, and he's taking our beers there.
Yeah, he's not silly, is he? He's got himself a nice trip there.
Yeah.
Actually, in my day job, my company Export is there to help Finnish companies that want to go overseas, and starting with Estonia and Sweden, that's the traditional route for many companies from Finland, is to reach out to the nearest neighbours. Used to be Russia as well, but things have gone a little bit cold there in the last 2 years. I was just asking you before about the location where you are, and it's on the banks of the river there, and you have the indoor bar that's open during the summer, and you have a lot of activity going on there during the summer. A nice terrace and garden. What kind of things can people find if they come to Mallskoski in the summer, for example?
Well, live bands almost every Friday and Saturday, and there are lots of stuff. Sanna and Alexi, who are running it, they have some crazy ideas from time to time, and they're doing big barbecues and kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, this brunch as well.
Yeah.
Brunssi is a word that seems to become quite trendy in the last couple of years in Finland.
Yeah, they do that every weekend on summertime. It's really nice for ourselves. If I have to come to work at weekend, I have brunch.
Yeah, exactly. No, it is a nice idea. I was there a few years ago in the summer, I think Saturday night, and everybody cycled. This was something that, as an Englishman, I had to get my head around. Was it's almost preferred, if you're going out for a drink in the summer, leave your car at home, go on your bike.
Yeah.
And when I tell people in the UK, they're like, but that's dangerous. It's like, well, the pavements are wide in Finland, especially in smaller towns in the countryside like Seinäjoki. If you fall off, you'll hurt yourself. There aren't so many cars around, certainly not late at night. And I have a friend who's a traffic policeman, and I've been out with him for a few beers many times on our bikes. It seems to be, it's almost the best way to do it. But I always make sure I wear a helmet, at least when I'm riding home from those nights out. But we started one night at Mallaskoski in the sun, with some live music, and then made our way into town, and well, I remember most of the night anyway. It was a good night. There was another event here in Seinäjoki just last weekend. Maybe you can explain a little bit about what that was, that you were involved in organising.
Yeah, we had a beer festival called Lakeuden Panimojuhlat, and it was quite a success. Well, I had this idea, and of course people in Selmu have had an idea about beer festival in Seinäjoki.
Selmu is the Seinäjoki live music organisation, isn't it? Yeah.
They do the province rock.
Yes.
And they had have a good space there, Rytmikorjaamo, which is a big hall. And we started to talk about it, and I said that I could get 10 of the closest breweries easily, just by calling, and I could help them to tell them how to run a beer festival, so that it would be good atmosphere for the breweries and for the customers. Just basic, simple things.
I was really looking forward to it. We've been talking about it in our office.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues used to work at Pramia, which is another alcohol distillery nearby to Seinäjoki. And so she said, there's this event going on, we must go there, I want to check it out. And we were looking forward to it for a month, and then last week, the days leading up to the beer festival, I was sick, really, really unwell, and I think when that was all happening, I could see my friends posting pictures to Facebook, and I was just laying on the sofa staring at the ceiling, feeling quite sorry for myself. So I was looking forward to meeting you there first, and I didn't get there. But what was describe it to me. How did the event go? What was there?
Well, there was 10 breweries. Everybody had from 4 to 10 different beers, and we have a discussion panel. Me and my one of the older brewers of Finland, and one of the younger ones than me, and the atmosphere was really good. It was just like I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
It was
were there
very warm, cozy
tables
tables and bar desks, and every brewery had its own booth, and where they would sell it. And it was I think 7 or 8 o'clock when we heard that it's sold out. So
you sold out?
Yeah,
excellent. That's great news.
950
drunk Finnish people. By the end of the night, anyway.
But if you count the workers there, it's 1,000 drunken people.
I guess in that kind of atmosphere, by the end of the night, everybody has had a
well,
good night.
For me, because I'm a brewer, and these festivals are the times because brewmasters meet each other, and then come on.
Yeah.
Oh, come on! You check this out.
So how is that community? Is it quite friendly, or are there rivals?
Yeah. It's Finnish small brewers. We don't have we like each other very much because we do similar things. We confront the similar difficulties, and we know what it's like, and it's. Those are nice events for us to talk about, when you can really talk about your work to somebody who understands you.
I get it, and I'm aware there was one of the episodes from in the first season of the Explore Finland radio show. We talked about Koskenkorva vodka.
Yeah.
I've seen in the last year Gura distillery that is started to make whiskey, not far from Seinäjoki here. I mentioned Pramia before. What other places are there locally? Are there other? There's a brewery somewhere near Vaasa, I believe.
Yeah, in Vaasa. Yeah, it's Mustasari. It's like Vaasa.
Yeah,
it Box Brewery, which they were on the festival also. It was their first festival, so we took their virginity.
Are they?
That's the
first time that word's been used on the podcast.
well, that's you can always spot the first timers when they bring like 40 kegs of stuff.
Right.
Okay, you're coming to one day festival.
Optimistic. So are they quite new as a brewery?
Yeah. They're, I think, under a year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Interesting. And how far did other brewers travel to
Well, I think the farthest was Rekola, which came from Fiskars, which is like almost 400 kilometers from here.
Okay.
But when I started calling these other breweries, they were, of course, from Oulu. There was 2. It's 350 kilometers, and from Jyväskylä and from Tampere were 2 breweries. And right about it. Maybe Rekola was the furthest.
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Oh, I'm really pleased that it's that it was a success, because I think when people kind of make an effort to organise these events, it really needs the public to support it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and your public, they backed you.
Yeah.
This time.
And
I suspect it's because there was beer available and a good choice. And
and the main reason it wasn't well. Of course, there was lots of locals, but there were people coming with buses from Oulu and from Helsinki by train.
Okay.
And because it's so, you can say, trendy to have beer as a hobby.
Yes, yeah.
And so, like we had 3 new beers there, which
you launched on the night.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of them was a collaboration which I went to make in Denver, in Colorado.
So this is sourcing different ingredients that you can then put together to make different flavours. Is that?
No, we have this friendship through one retailer, so I went there for this one world's largest beer festival.
Okay.
And on that week I went to this Tommyknocker brewery, and we made a brew there, and then I got ready product, ready beer, Dunkelrye here like a week ago.
Okay.
And then the first time tapping was on Saturday on the beer fest.
And that kind of thing, if there's people who have this trendy new hobby, then a new beer being tapped for the first time, that's something that's worth travelling from Oulu or Helsinki. And I guess
of course many other breweries have had some new stuff to show. Yeah.
When can we have another one, though? Now that I'm better, can we organise that?
Next Saturday.
that would be good.
I'll start calling.
Obviously I'm from the UK and from South London, actually. So there's the 2 nearest breweries to me growing up. One was Young's in Wandsworth. That's probably the very closest, but it's not any longer a kind of functioning brewery. It's more like they moved the brewing to somewhere else, and the nearest now is Fuller's in Chiswick. So they're the two local ones, and it always just makes me feel fondly of home when I find a Fuller's or Young's beer on the shelf in Finland. You do find one or two from time to time, especially London Pride. That's I don't want to move back to the UK. I'm quite happy living here in Etelä-Pohjanmaa, but it's always nice just to remember home. I found that when I got to around the age of 30, I didn't want to drink weak fizzy lager anymore. My dad, bless him, who will be listening, is still quite happy to just pour Foster's or Stella Artois down his neck. But I quite like something with a little bit of flavour. But I don't really... I know what I like, but I don't know why I like it, or how I'm... or what I'm tasting necessarily in the beer. So now that I've got you, and we're in your bar here in Seinäjoki, will you educate me? Will you help me understand, the different parts of what goes into making beer and what it does to the flavour?
Well, if we start from what is normally considered as beer, as you talk about Koff, Carlsberg, or that kind of...
That's the sort of stuff that my dad's quite happy to drink.
It's like, well, it's beer, but it's made to be extremely drinkable.
Yes.
It's not much of flavor and just highly carbonated and.
It's kind of a can full of chemicals, really.
Yeah. And of course, when you make yourself your beer, you know that it's very cheaply made. It's a production that wants profits.
Yes. Yeah.
It's made cheaply and mostly. But if we talk about the ingredients, what makes a beer, there's of course water. That's the base for every beer.
Sure.
You can't deny it, but it doesn't have so much to do with the final flavor of the beer.
Okay,
water.
Yeah.
It has some, but not as much as the second one, which is malt.
Okay.
And malt is malted barley. And there are different kind of malts. Some are really black and some are really blonde.
And is that just to do with the
how much it's roasted,
right,
or
the
roasting,
malting,
malting process. Well, you can do lots of other stuff in malting, but I won't go to that.
No,
we don't
sure,
have
sure.
ours.
No.
But with the malt, the dark and the light ones, you make a mix, and then you have your color to the beer comes from there.
Right. Okay.
Like our red ale or amber, all the color comes from the malt.
Okay. Okay.
And the dark ones, of course, the black ones have black malt or chocolate malt or things like that in them. So that makes the maltiness. Then there's this hops.
Yes. What is hops?
Hops are like cones.
Okay.
And they are. They don't. We have hops growing in Finland, but they're not used to brewery.
Okay.
But in England, in Germany, in Czech, in America, in New Zealand, where they are grown, and Australia, which they are grown.
I know actually that hops are grown in Kent.
Yeah.
Which, for those that don't know the UK, it's the kind of very southeastern part of the UK, just to the southeast of London, and traditionally, back in the day, working class East End people would move out to Kent in the hop picking season, and it would be like a working holiday for for weeks, picking the hops that then made the beer. So
I've seen some harvest in England and in some in Germany, and they import their workers.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Romanian and Polish.
Well, I was going to say, I suspect they're not moving from the East End of London anymore. They're probably coming from further afield. Yeah. What does the hops do? I mean, this is the thing I think I like about a beer, is if it's got a hoppy flavour, but you might be ready to tell me.
You have basically have two kinds of hops. You have the ones that give the bitterness to the beer.
Okay.
And that's part of the beer that the hops give the bitterness to the beer, and they are the natural preservative for the beer, so it lasts months, not days.
Yes. Okay.
And so those are bitter hops that give the bitterness. We talk about international bitterness units, which we measure them how bitter it is.
Okay.
And then there are aroma hops, which give more to the nose and more to the overall flavor, freshness, and things like that. So nowadays, American hops are really popular. Everybody wants them, and we use them too.
Yes, yeah,
and of course, English hops too. German are like the base hops. Yeah. But nowadays we have these IPA trends that are now going quite rampant in the industry. Everybody has to have an IPA, and some of them are really, really hoppy. And,
right. Okay. Is that a traditional kind of flavour for an Indian pale ale, an IPA?
Well, Indian pale ale and the history of that drink, they hopped it really good. So
Right, okay.
it would last the sea trip from England to India.
Right, okay.
That's from where the name comes from. And American Pale Ale, of course, to America when
Yes.
they brought their beer.
Interesting.
So they put a bit higher alcohol and then much more hop. But nowadays it's gone out of hand.
For sure, yeah. But that's where it all came from. So.
I think it's an interesting time in the beer industry, especially in micro, because we use every kind of thing which we can think of to throw in the kettle. And actually, I'm
just to find something different. To keep the
and
enthusiasts
then
interested.
what goes with this? I made one test batch with bird's sap and bird's bark.
Okay.
It was bit funky.
You sound like some kind of mad professor in his lab, just throwing things in and seeing what explodes.
Just visited one brewer in Estonia, and he was beans and stuff like that. People are using coffee beans, black beans, whatever you can throw there.
To see if it can give some other kind of flavour. Yeah.
But then if we go back to what makes a beer after hops, there comes this, of course, the yeast. We have two different yeasts, lager yeast and ale yeast.
Okay.
Lager yeasts are these are mainly lagers that most people drink.
Yeah.
These Carlsbergs and Stellas and stuff like that. And ales, of course, to you are familiar. You know them by real ales and
that kind of
stuff like that. And I think London Bride is ale too.
I think so. Yeah, that kind of. So I always describe it to people. You have sort of the thick stout at one end. You have fizzy lager at the other end, and then it's sort of lager, ale, bitter, stout in a sort of scale going along there. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's, to me, if I understand correctly, bitters can be quite flat, not so much gas.
Yeah.
Ale tends to have a little bit more life to it, but also more flavour than a lager.
Yeah.
And that's for me. I prefer that. I don't mind stout, but I do find that if they're too flat, then they can be a bit hard work
heavy
to drink. Yeah.
Well, you can take them if you. Now we have these imperial stouts and lots of things like that, which are really high on alcohol. We are having one they're fermenting with 10.5 as a beer, which is quite heavy.
You sell that in small coffee cups, and that'll probably be enough.
They are like you have one, and then on the cold winter day like this.
You don't need your jacket when you walk home. You'll just get there. It's about minus 25 outside at the moment. The idea of walking home with just one beer inside me doesn't sound too appealing at the moment. And anything else, or are they the main? The main. We have only 4 ingredients, and then what we can think of to throw in. So you take 4 ingredients, there's a way of brewing them, and then you try and find as many ways as possible to make it more complicated and interesting for yourself. Yeah.
And there are thousands of different ways you can use these 4 different ingredients. Of course, there's malt, there's like 50 different kind of malts, and hops, like 200 different hops, and you can use them, variate them endlessly. So.
Interesting. Can we try one or two and compare how they smell and taste?
I'll get some. I'll give you some fresh one first.
Okay.
Okay. What's the when I talked to you about the how you make a color with the malt? That's the amber one. It's made only with malt. The
Just
redness.
with malt.
Yeah.
Oh, the colour is.
Yeah, the colour.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you can taste it and smell it first. It has a malty flavor to it.
Yeah, it does. That's the smell that I like to smell when I stick my nose into a beer glass.
Yeah. So that's our Kuohu Amber Lager, which is I think our most selling can beer. Well, it is.
And that's the one that comes in the red can as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with that. It's.
Well, I took another sample, which is where you can find how you can do lager. This is lager too, but now you want to smell it.
So this is a much, not much lighter. It's a more normal lager colour.
Yeah.
A little lighter in shade than the amber. Oh.
Yeah.
Now, what? That's interesting. What am I? It's quite sweet smell.
Yeah, there's aroma hop, which gives the, I think, fresh grass kind of thing.
Yeah. Is it some kind of wheaty?
Yeah, there's wheat too.
There? But fruity.
Yeah. You can experience that beer has much of the qualities of very hoppy ale, but it's still a lager.
Before I drink them, I'm going to take a picture of them.
If I knew that you'll take pictures of I would have built a better foam to them.
Oh no, that's okay. I'll put a note in there saying this is after I stuck my nose in and been drinking them. But okay, so let's try the lighter one. So that's the first one was the amber ale, and what's this one called?
It's called Mosaic Wheat Lager.
Okay.
Mosaic is the name of the hop.
Okay.
Yeah. And you are one of the first that it was one of the introductions in the beer festival, so it's
that's really interesting because it's got a light nose, as you said before, but it's got a really deep taste.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing I often find is missing in Finnish beer. Of the beers that I've tried over here, there's one of the breweries from Tampere that has 2 or 3 beers that I think actually it's got that depth to the taste, but both of those have it as well.
Yeah.
The amber wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
But that one really is.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening to this, there's no other bar in Seinäjoki worth coming to. Just come here, ask for the Mosaic wheat beer. And actually, what's interesting is I think of wheat beer being cloudy, like that Belgian wheat beer. Hoegaarden or however it's supposed to say it. But this is clear. It looks like a lager.
Yeah, it's filtered, and I think on the summertime it's going to be a big hit.
It's already a big hit with me.
Yeah.
Oh, how we're silent there.
Yeah.
Just a silent contemplation of the
looking
beer.
at that. I'm going to comment.
Yeah. No, nothing. I let my silence speak for itself. How do you then get to a beer like a porter or a stout like Guinness or something? Is it a similar process or very different process?
There's it's basically similar, but you use a lot of different lager malts and to make the color, and then you normally you use much more malt. So there's always always thicker beers when they're darker ones. So because there's some unfermentable sugars in it. So
and that's what makes it thicker, creamier sort of consistency. Okay, it's interesting. I'm just looking now at my clock, and we've been talking for 40 minutes about Mallskoski and about beer.
Yeah.
And as much as I'd love to sit here and talk beer with you all evening, I know that you have somewhere else that you need to be after we finish talking. So, Jyri, thank you so much for taking 40 minutes out of your life to speak to me. It's been an education. I have 2 small half glasses of beer sitting in front of me, and I'm not going to waste those. So I'm going to just kick back and relax a little bit while you go on with what you need to do. Yeah. If people want to see more about Mallskoski Brewery or your beers, where's the best place for them to find you online?
Well, Mallaskoski pages.
What's the website address?
www.mallaskoski.fi.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And there's
some beautiful pictures about me.
Well, I'll be sure to and actually there's a great beer mat that my glass is sitting on now with you peering out there. Yeah. You look quite scary on there, but in real life you're much more friendly. I'm glad I met you before I saw that picture. And I'll add some any of the finished words from today. I'll add those in the show notes, and maybe some pictures either from here or maybe some pictures from your website that sort of show you and your beers in at their best. Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't add any pictures from the beer festival last week. If 1,000 people of Seinäjoki were there having a good time, we'll leave that where it was. Jyri, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so thanks again to Jyri for taking some time to explain Mallskoski and the Kuohu beer and the beer festival here in Seinäjoki. He had to dash off straight away at the end of the conversation to help his wife, whose car had broken down some 20 kilometres away from Seinäjoki, but I'm sure you'll agree he managed to keep composed and relaxed throughout that. And it was, I thought, a really good conversation. I thought I'd also just take a moment now just to thank a few people that have started following me on Twitter recently. So I won't read out all your handles on the Twitter, but if you have started following me recently, then it's probably you I'm talking about. So let's start with Tapani and Kurt and Mari or Marie. There's Sanna and Olli and Henry. I've certainly had a few messages back and forward with Huck. So thanks for following me and thanks for listening. There's also Vesse, Brian, who I know has recently moved to Seinäjoki. There's another Kurt, and then there's also Jonathan. So thanks all of you for following me on Twitter, and also I'm available on Facebook and on Instagram, and also still on Google Plus if anyone's still connecting on Google Plus. I post a few links to the shows and things like that, but it's a pretty quiet place out there. Remember, you can also go to my website, which is explorefinlandpodcast.com. You can follow the show on there. If you find the button that says follow, just click that, and every time I publish something new, you'll get notified that there's something for you to read or to listen to. And it could be one of the occasional journal posts that I write, or it could be a new episode of Explore Finland, or it might be the new show, the Finnish football show, which is also hosted on the same website, so you'll be notified about that as well, if that's interesting to you. And I know there are some people that follow Explore Finland, and there are some people that follow the Finnish football show, and I'd be very happy if you all merged as well and followed both. That would be great. So I think the next episode will probably be the final one of Season 2. That kind of keeps both seasons at 16 episodes, which wasn't intentional when I started out, but now there's some kind of nice symmetry to it, so I think I'll keep it that way. Until next week, thanks for listening to the Explore Finland radio show. I'm Mark Wiltshire, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.